Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Themed Office Hours with Jess. Today, I'll be talking about making the most of mentoring relationships. So this video today is inspired by my doctoral seminar that I have every 2 weeks with my fellow PhD students in my department. And this past week, our topic was actually on mentoring. So I thought what I would do is collectively take all the notes and ideas that were shared at this seminar and bring them all here to you all through this video. So this is a summary of all of the themes and tips that were brought up amongst my cohort mates, as well as a couple of my own concluding thoughts. I want to first start off by talking about some of the challenges that were brought up by some of my classmates. And this might be applicable to some of you all at other institutions. And at least these were definitely brought up as something relevant here specific to my department. The first one being that sometimes tenured advisors or just some other faculty that are a little bit further away from being a student may not give as good advice for students that are earlier in their career, just because times have changed, things are more competitive, whatnot. So it's sort of brought up as something to, acknowledge and be concerned about. We also discussed how our department, and maybe this is also something at other departments as well, doesn't outline strict guidelines or exact guidelines to advisors on what is expected of them as a mentor to graduate students. And I think that is something that is important to try and establish, expectations with your mentor. We also talked about the differences versus senior versus junior faculty and how that's sort of related to some advisors being more responsive and available than others. I know I present these challenges and don't have direct solutions for all of these, but we did talk about some tips that are coming up next that might address some of these challenges that were brought up amongst my cohort and might be something that you all experience as well. So one big theme that was brought up is the fact that sometimes you and your advisor or mentor don't have a 100% perfect match in terms of research interests or fields of experience or expertise. And sort of the consensus among my group was that your advisor or mentor doesn't need to precisely match like that field of knowledge or research that you're engaging in. And sometimes it is good to get input from people not as fully embedded in the topic. So for example, my advisor and I, we both work in the field, in the space of tobacco, but I would say that my advisor, he's more about sort of global tobacco control, looking at how policies impact low-income populations or other vulnerable populations. Whereas my research is very heavily focused on youth prevention, adolescent vaping, that type of stuff. So there is some overlap, but it's not the exact same thing. And sometimes it's good to sort of get someone's perspective that's not exactly always working in your specific topic area. Another tip to kind of address this gap maybe that you might have in, your mentor advisor, is it that 100% precise match in terms of expertise and field of study? It's a good, this is a good time to rely on previous mentors. So staying in touch with some of your previous mentors who can provide that topic experience or topic specific expertise can help kind of complement whatever your advisor or mentor at your current institution is providing you. This is an idea that's borrowed from one of my cohort mates that she shared, but sort of like having your own board of directors as you've advanced through your career. So sort of having like a list of previous mentors that you can always kind of call on, even if you don't talk to them in a while. And so always kind of like keeping in mind who those previous mentors might be. And they're also good people to ask for letters of recommendation in the future as well. Tip number 3 is leveraging relationships with postdocs. This is actually something I brought up during the seminar. So I genuinely don't think that all mentors need to be, tenured faculty at big institutions. I think postdocs, at least in my experience, I've developed some amazing mentorship relationships with them. And I feel like they're just a couple steps ahead, but they have that couple years of experience to provide you with that mentorship and insight, but also have that near peer relationship. They get what you're going through. They just went through it, and they can provide that more tailored advice that, your advisor may not be able to provide as someone who maybe didn't go to grad school as recently. And I feel like postdocs also understand how competitive things are these days and can relate to you with that. And they're also soon to be professors and leaders themselves, like someone that I started out working with, like as a postdoc. We became really good friends, and now she's an assistant professor. And now I see her still as a friend, but also as a mentor, but also as this leader in the field. So I just think postdocs are a great resource to go to if you are looking for mentorship in that area. I also think it's really important to leverage your mentors' networks. Always asking for introductions to people that your mentor might know to expand your network. I found that sometimes having that initial email coming from a more warm, email from your advisor is more likely to yield a quick response from whoever it is that you're trying to network with or connect with. And I think it's important to also, if you're not strictly looking to stay in academia, to leverage any of your non-academic connections that your mentor might have, and have them set up those email introductions as well. I also think it's really important to make connections with mentors outside of your immediate institution. And if your mentor can help you with that, then that's great. I'll also create a video in the future to talk about how to cold email and make connections in that route. But if your mentor can help you make any of those connections, I would definitely recommend. And the last tip here is not only be mentored, but be a mentor yourself. I think this is one of the richest things that I found in my graduate experience, probably why I'm committed to making all of these videos for you all. But I really think that mentoring students is one of the most rewarding experiences that, that I can say that I get to engage in my day-to-day life. So really find opportunities to do this. And I know it might not sometimes feel very natural, or there might not be very obvious opportunities to do so, but there are always student organizations that are looking for mentors, especially at the undergraduate school, so looking into maybe if you study STEM, like there might be a STEM undergrad sort of pre-med, pre-science group that you can go, and they usually have some sort of mentorship program that's already established that you can, help out with. I also found that just being a TA has allowed me to not only TA the coursework and the material of the class, but also get to know students and mentor them. And they come ask me, other questions or career questions or how to apply to grad school, PhD type questions. So I think TAing is also a great place to find mentorship opportunities. So my overall tips as well, kind of outside of what was discussed in our seminar this week, I think these are key things that I've done that I think have really allowed me to foster really strong connections with my main advisor, as well as other mentors that I have outside of Harvard. First one being to meet with your advisor weekly, if possible. So my main advisor that's, assigned to me in my program, I meet with him every week. And I think that's been so key in my success as a graduate student, because every week we can talk through sort of what I've been going through, what projects I'm working on. And this was really helpful when I was putting together my dissertation aims and just had like no clue what I wanted to do. But the fact that I had to sit down with him every week, and he had this expectation that I would sharpen my ideas every time we met, sort of forced me to hone in on something and really focus and, quite honestly, get through that sort of dissertation aims developing process a lot faster than I think I would have if I didn't have those weekly meetings set in place. So highly recommend sort of that high touch relationship with your mentor if possible. And with that, also just getting to know your mentors personally. I think it's a lot nicer when I feel like you have that personal connection with your mentor. That's not just a strict academic back and forth. Like my advisor and I, when we meet weekly, unless we have like tons of paper writing or project related stuff to talk about, we spend a lot of time just chatting about our weekends, what's going on with our families. He's met my mom, and we, I just feel like having that personal connection of like, okay, like I'm not just like this student that writes papers and goes to class, getting to know each other really does help also, because your mentors, with you for a long time, and they care about you as a person too. And I think that also just builds stronger mentorship relationships all around. And I said this earlier and I'll say it again, because I truly think this is a point that I really want to hammer home is make connections with mentors outside of your immediate institution. This is really important. And I think a key to, getting more projects, getting more papers, and I've heard that in the future, at least if you're going on that academic route, being like considered for tenure, you need to have these collaborations with outside faculty, because that all counts towards sort of your success as a tenured faculty member, which I only learned of recently. So this is a good skill to start developing early, is making connections with mentors outside and developing projects or working on projects with them. And that is all I have for you all for this. If any of these topics you feel like you want me to expand more on, feel free to leave a note and I will make another video. I will definitely make that video on, again, kind of how to build those connections outside of your institution, because I know that's a big and important one. But thank you all.